Yeah, are you kidding, Doc? This is vital. I love that. That's the pathogens are scavengers, and that's a complete difference than the medical view.
The
The
antithesis.
medical view is your body is being attacked by these things, and the difference that, well, what did Hippocrates say? Death begins in the colon.
Today it's my good fortune to be a guest on Dr. John Bergman's show. As you probably know, Dr. Bergman's website is one of the most popular and comprehensive resources available today to anyone seeking answers to their health issues. So let's get started.
Excellent.
Okay. Today's discussion will be on the colon, the center of your immune system. And this is going to be an introduction to the complete chapter, Journey to the Center of Your Colon at the Doctor Within. Now, we've been involved in colon detox for over 20 years. At the beginning, I was fortunate to have two of the best experts in colon detox in the world. The first was Dr. Richard Anderson. And Anderson, I remember, he used to always tell us that in ancient civilizations, it was common sense for them to just realize the colon was the life center of the body. And this persisted up until the advent of organized medicine around 1900, actually, since they were educated to focus on the sale of pharmaceuticals and the sale of procedures. They never really were interested in how the colon actually worked and how to restore it to its natural health. And so organized medicine has always regarded the colon merely as the body's sewer. So this type of approach has led to the situation that we have had in the United States today, where colon cancer has been the #3 cancer for the last 40 years. Now, what is the purpose of the colon? The colon has two primary purposes: resorption of water and electrolytes. So you know that when we eat food, it goes primarily to our stomach and small intestine, and that's where the majority of digestion takes place, right? And then what's left over drops down to this 6-foot tube at the bottom, which is called the colon. And now the purpose of the colon, its job is to resorb all the water and electrolytes, that's minerals, from this waste material, so that the only thing that leaves the body is solid waste. In that way, we won't become dehydrated and we won't become mineral deficient. Now, unfortunately, as you know, Dr. Bergman, 80% of the population has an 80% processed food diet these days. So the definition of processed food is that the food has had its enzymes scientifically removed in order for the longest shelf life possible. So as a consequence of this, most Americans have this accumulation of enzymeless food that they take in all day, every day. First it's in their stomach, then it's in their small intestine, and then eventually it drops down to the colon. Now, once in the colon, this indigestible debris, which can no longer be broken down, becomes sort of plastered or matrixed along the lining of the colon, layer after layer after layer. So as you know, Dr. Bergman, the normal human colon is only 2 inches in diameter, but for many people, you'll see a lot of people and they have this huge distended abdomen below their belt. That's not fat necessarily. that could be a distended colon that's the result of years of this layering and layering of sludge along the entire length of the colon. Right. The problem with that is there are pores all throughout the lining of the colon through which water and electrolytes are supposed to be absorbed. But due to these layers of sludge along the colon lining, many of these pores become blocked shut or locked open. And the ones that are locked open allow the invasion into the human bloodstream of toxic chemicals, poisons, and indigestible processed food particles. Intact molecules that can no longer be digested. Now, once in the blood, digestion can no longer occur. So of course, doctors have a name for this condition, and it's called leaky gut syndrome. And this is a true epidemic in the United States. So this is what I was talking about. We see these people sometimes. Now, this guy is not necessarily fat. He has normal neck, normal arms, normal legs, but he looks like he's in the 4th trimester, right? This is a blocked colon. One of my other teachers, Dr. J.H. Tilden, MD, he used to talk about when the colon is completely blocked year after year, in order to survive, the body enlists what he calls secondary avenues of egress in order to get the poison out. Now, here he is, J.H. Tilden, and here's a quote. He used to call this process vicarious elimination. Here's a quote. Every so-called disease is a crisis of toxemia, which means that toxin has accumulated in the blood and the colon above the toleration point. The crisis, the so-called disease, is a vicarious elimination. Nature is endeavoring to rid the body of toxin. So these secondary avenues, the first one that the body employs is the largest organ, which is
Skin.
Thank you. Okay, so the colon is blocked, so that's the number one exit of waste. The poisons can't escape out of the body through the colon because it's blocked. So the body will enlist the skin as an emergency exit for poisons accumulated in the colon. So it exudes these poisons out through the skin, right? So this accounts for a huge majority of cases of chronic acne, eczema, psoriasis, and other skin conditions.
So in my full day seminar, I always talk about the actors and actresses in Hollywood. They know this mechanism of detox, and when their skin breaks out, they don't immediately go to Retin-A and acne topical ointments. They do brown rice and vegetables for a few weeks in order to clear the skin condition, because they know that the skin is a secondary avenue of egress for internal poisons.
Another secondary avenue of egress for poisons that the body enlists as a survival mechanism is the respiratory system. So in desperation, the person is so toxic, the body will volatilize some of these poisons and you will breathe them out, breathe out the poisons. And this results in many, many cases of chronic pneumonia, bronchitis, colds, flu, and other respiratory diseases. There's Tilden. So all of this is just a couple ideas from his excellent text, Toxemia Explained. All right, now what is the medical approach to a blocked colon? Well, they do what they usually do. They come up with labels and they put names on it, names like irritable bowel syndrome, spastic colon, Crohn's disease, chronic colitis, and a dozen others like this. Now, these are just other names for a colon that is no longer motile, a colon that is blocked. So as we know all too well, Dr. Bergman, Medicine has an abysmal track record with curing any of these conditions, but that's okay because that was never their wheelhouse to cure them. The best way to cure a chronic disease of the colon is to restore the colon to its natural vitality. So what are some solutions, some obvious solutions? The first one is the most obvious, spinal adjustment. So as chiropractors, we know very well that all the viscera, all the organs of the viscera are controlled by nerves which come from the spinal cord and then branch out to the spinal nerves that are specific for that organ, right? Vertebrae become displaced and interfere with that whole neural control. This is the most obvious solution here, spinal adjustment. Second thing is hydration. Most people in America are dehydrated. Dehydration is, of course, contributes to this chronic blockage of the colon. So start drinking 1 to 2 liters of water every day. That's obvious. The next solution are 2 supplements that we have developed to clear the colon.
One is called Expel, and the other is called Total Florabiotics.
These 2 supplements are part of the 60-day program, which Dr. Bergman and I did our last interview, which is on Dr. Bergman's site as well as on my site. It's called the 60-day program video. Okay, so here's Expel, the first one. This is a very old formula consisting of 7 herbs. The formula is actually several hundred years old. And it very simply, how it works is these herbs have the ability to sort of chip away little by little at the layers of impacted sludge that has accumulated all along the colon wall. And then day by day, it eventually gets broomed away, and then the patient will discover that they're beginning to eliminate again, maybe for the first time in weeks. For most people, this goes on for 60 days. So you take 3 capsules of Expel every day for 60 days, and eventually the colon becomes clear. After all the debris is out of the colon, the Expel also works to heal the scarring of the delicate, sensitive mucosa of the inner lining of the colon, also very important. Okay, the second supplement is probiotics. Now here I was, 11 years university, I never heard the word probiotics. How did that happen? Okay, so I was lucky enough to have Dr. Kem Shahani, who was the foremost expert in the world on probiotics. He was Kem Shahani, MD, University of Nebraska. And Shahani taught us what probiotics really were. Friendly bacteria that should exist in the human colon. The normal, healthy human has up to 3 pounds of probiotics in the colon at all times. This can include up to 400 species of bacteria. Now, remember this, people who are listening to this, up to 400 species of bacteria are normal in the human colon. So Dr. Bergman and I, we both have videos and lessons on the germ theory of disease, right, Doc?
Yep.
Okay.
Hundreds of them.
I believe that. Conventional wisdom tells you that germs cause disease. Germs don't cause disease. Germs are the result of disease. They are scavengers, not predators.
Scavengers, not predators.
So it's completely normal for up to 400 species of bacteria to live constantly in the human colon. It's not only completely normal, it's essential for the best immune system. Now, the strange thing is, some of these species may be potential pathogens like E. coli, H. pylori, but as long as they're in this symbiotic relationship with each other and this dynamic equilibrium, they never cause a problem. What causes a problem is that we destroy our probiotics with antibiotics and processed foods, right? So most people have little or no probiotics most of their life. When this happens, opportunists, which are potential pathogens, gain an ascendancy and take over. And this is where something like E. coli or H. pylori can completely proliferate and occupy the colon and cause an infection.
God, I love the way you put that bacteria are scavengers, not predators.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So what are we saying here about scavengers and predators? We're talking about bacteria in the human body, right? But 99% of humans cause their own diseases by their injudicious lifestyles. In the case of leaky gut syndrome, week after week, month after month, we accumulate this toxic load, both in the tract and in the blood, poisons and hydrogenated debris that cannot be metabolized. So this eventually creates a hospitable environment for the proliferation of opportunistic bacteria. Now, in the healthy individual, good bacteria will attack and scavenge normal amounts of undigested debris. But when the levels of morbific matter exceed the limits of what the scavenging bacteria can deal with, well then the scale tips the balance the other way. Now, proliferating opportunists have found a home. They'll never leave, but will continue to grow until they exhaust the resources of the subject's immune system. And now they're no longer scavengers, but have become predators, thriving on the rotting media provided by their self-indulgent host. So this is how neutral, benign bacteria can become pathogens. The disease was there first. It's really not their fault. They're just following Darwin's inexorable path, same as us.
Yeah, because you got to earn a disease.
Absolutely.
Most of us have the health that we deserve, the health that we went out of our way to earn. Very briefly here, I want to talk just a little bit about this whole idea of the germ theory of disease.
Okay, so here is the result of Dr. Kem Shahani's his lifetime work. It took him decades to come up with this formula. He studied all the probiotics and chose 12 of them which work the best together in this symbiotic relation. He focused on probiotics that would be antibiotic resistant. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let's say you have a life-threatening situation and you have to take antibiotics. You have no choice, right? Well, even medical doctors will tell you that the main side effect of taking antibiotics is what? Intestinal distress. You get blocked up. So if you absolutely have to take antibiotics, when you take like 10 or 12 Florobiotics capsules every day, you will have no intestinal distress. I can say that with confidence because of the years of clinical experience that I've had with hundreds of patients in this situation. The other thing is shelf life. It took him years and years to come up with a formula of probiotics that could be designed in a latent state in capsules and then be stored on the shelf in a cool, dark place for up to 2 years. And yet, when you take those capsules, they were designed to travel all the way to the colon at that point to open up and to begin to proliferate. That is very sophisticated science, and it took him decades to come up with that. As I said before, these two supplements, Expel and Florobiotics, are a vital part of the 60-day program because, of course, any legitimate program of detox is going to begin with detoxing of the colon. Yeah, great. Expel and Total Florobiotics. So please look at the interview with Dr. Bergman and myself is on his site as well as my site. So that brings us back to our first slide. Dr. Bergman, I'm sure you have some comments.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you kidding, Doc? This is vital. I love that. That's the pathogens are scavengers, and that's a complete difference than the medical view.
The antithesis.
The medical view is your body is being attacked by these things, and the difference that, well, what did Hippocrates say? Death begins in the colon,
Right.
and
That should have been a slide. That's what that first guy told us. Anderson said, to the ancients, the colon was the center of the immune system. That much was obvious. And Hippocrates was one of those ancients.
And it just makes sense. But I mean, how many times have I heard you say, and I've said it, you can't catch a cold, you got to earn a cold. Mm-hmm. And we look at physical, chemical, emotional stress. Like today, every time I'm doing an exam on somebody, I can see a leaky gut. I mean, you can see a normal intestinal tract is a little bit smaller, about the diameter of what a vertebrae would look like. And we'll see them expanded out 5 to 10 times larger than that vertebrae. And that is a completely abnormal bowel gas. And that's neurotransmitters, it's immune system, it's everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's healing has to occur by dealing with the stressors. But your method and your products of rebuilding that gut flora, brilliant.
It's the 1-2 punch. The only time it doesn't work is when people don't follow the dosage schedule. Mm-hmm. But yeah. I got a question for you, Dr. Bergman. Can you think of some other connections between the colon and the immune system?
Well, not just the immune system, neurotransmitters, gut brain, enteric brain. There's more nerves inside of the gut than there are stars in the sky. I mean, they're doing fecal transplants in neurologic disorders such as autism, in people that have had Alzheimer's or dementia. And they're still not understanding what they're implanting or what the end results are. They haven't had the bacteria mapped, but by replacing the bacteria with good bacteria and allowing that body to cleanse, and so you get better absorption, oh my gosh, your body can build cells faster than they break down.
Another mechanism that connects the colon with the immune system in general is that as this chronic leaky gut syndrome occurs, these toxic particles of poisons and undigested food, they're in the bloodstream now. They're free to take up residence in any organ or tissue in the body, causing disease in that location, further suppressing the immune system.
Oh yeah, and then you get, I forget who it was. I think he when a Nobel Prize, when it came in like 1906, and he said proteins that aren't tempered by digestion in the bloodstream activate the immune system. He's the one that developed the term autoimmune condition.
Right.
God, I forget what the guy's name was, but I mean, just brilliant. Where the body is going to attack a protein that's not broken down by digestion, that's in an area it shouldn't be, and this causes horrific problems.
That's it, Dr. Bergman. You've hit on the idea, the real connection between the colon and the immune system. And it's this concept of autoimmunity, the body attacking its own cells. Why does that happen? It's right here. It's what we've been talking about, leaky gut syndrome. The damaged colon leaks indigestible proteins and poisons into the blood, right? Well, once in the blood, these foreign particles can end up anywhere, in any organ or tissue. Since they are foreign, this triggers the immune response, and now the body is attacking its own cells. That's Dr. Paul Ehrlich's classical principle of autoimmunity. So right here, we have the best explanation exactly why the colon is the center of the immune system.
The other application I wanted to mention here, as far as the probiotics were concerned, is when children have, quote, allergies, which is epidemic in this country. The very first thing you do, of course, is get them off all pasteurized dairy for 60 days. No milk, no cheese, no butter, no ice cream, no yogurt. The second thing you do is begin to flood the colon with best probiotics. You give small children 1 cap 3 times a day, and then when they're 10 years old, 2 caps 3 times a day, like that. This works not most of the time. This works all the time.
Wait, when I get a patient, and these are usually kids, sometimes adults, I explain that allergy is an abnormal recognition of a foreign protein. And, I'll take an x-ray, I'll see a leaky gut, and I'll say, look, do you want to mess with the allergens? What I want you to do is eat nothing but fast food for a week and then have your allergies tested. Then I want you to eat nothing but healthy food, juicing and blending, and get it tested again. It'll be 2 totally different results. I mean, when you and me were kids, take me out to the ball game, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. Now they got peanut-free days at the ballpark. Our species cannot decline that rapidly unless they're being poisoned.
Right. That's exactly what it is. You know what's amazing to me, Dr. Bergman, working with so many patients in detoxification, it's astounding the amount of abuse that the human body can take year after year and still be alive.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I mean, how many times have you seen somebody get an appendix removed, and then there's a 60% increase in colon cancer, or they get the gallbladder removed? So then we have increased duodenal ulcers and hormone production problems, or they get the ovaries and uterus removed. The adrenal glands will take over. It's like we don't have spare parts. But you can survive even though those things that barbarians have removed them,
if we can heal the parts that we have left.
Amen. Doc, I mean, brilliant. Please, if you have any questions, your newsletters, I want our audience to know, are not just brilliant, but I like the way you write and your sense of humor. You take the destruction and the psychosis that society's under, and you put a good spin on it. I like it.
I'm a sarcastic bastard, are I not?
Look at the chapters on your site, which are loaded with information. Sign up for the newsletter. And, if death begins in the colon, so does health. So take charge of it.
Excellent.
Do you have any final words, brother?
Just keep doing what you're doing. People listening to this, I hope you realize how lucky you are to be listening to this guy day after day. There's nobody like him. We appreciate you, Doc.
God bless you, brother. You're a mover and shaker. You've been inspiring me since I was a little baby chiropractor.
Thank you, Dr. Bergman.
God bless you, man, and have a wonderful weekend.